So we often think about food in terms of our bodies and eating the right thing for nutrition, but what about eating for your brain? You talk about eating for your brain. How does what we eat affect how well our mind performs?
Yeah, well, the thing about the brain, well, as I said, I'm not a brain surgeon. I'm much different than that, and so I don't know the inner workings of the brain, so to speak. However, I do know this, that one of the interesting facts is that people don't understand is that you actually have to feed your brain, to actually, produce and to produce properly, to function properly. Let's put it that way. So, I'm always meeting people that are trying to lose weight, and the first thing they do is they're really cutting their calories tremendously. So, when analyzing somebody's nutrition plan and I see that they're eating 600-700 calories a day, or even before I analyze that and I just say to somebody, for example, well, how many calories do you think you're burning in a day? If you just sit on the TV, on the couch and you just watch TV, what do you think you're burning? And their answer is 0, 100, so on and so forth. And I say, well, the first fact that you need to understand is the brain alone needs 1,000 calories a day to function properly. So 1,000 calories a day. Now, if you're understanding that someone's eating 600 or 700 calories a day, and the brain needs 1,000, what's happening here? We're becoming deficient. The brain and the way the brain is going to operate is going to be almost, as I would try to explain it, as somebody who's walking around drunk, They are acting as they appear to themselves fine, but others around them see a complete difference in their behavior, their attitude, the way they are, the way they're reacting, the way they're thinking, the way they're remembering things, just the way that they're being. When the brain is not being fed, forget the rest of the body. Let's just say when the brain's not being fed, it affects every aspect of that human being. In a social environment, in a work environment, I mean, if you have your staff working and they're not eating well, they're not taking care of themselves, their energy is low, their capacity to make decisions quickly is slow, it's like they're in a brain fog. I describe that a lot where, a brain fog, where it's like the fog is there and you're just like, what was I saying? Oh yeah, and it's hard to concentrate, it's hard to focus. And this is really due to the fact that we're not feeding ourselves. So, if somebody is going to master their domain, whether that be their job or their physical health, or whether that be anything, their thoughts, their interactions, their relationships, if they're going to, raise their kids with patience and tolerance, what needs to be happening here is that they need to be fed. These people need to be fed properly so that they can actually have the ability to do this. There's a hormone in the brain called serotonin that it's like the feel-good hormone that gets depleted rather quickly when people are undernourished and they're not eating effectively. This creates lots of problems. It creates an imbalance in somebody's mind, and it makes somewhat the situation that they're seeing to be more dismal or more not a positive environment. So, as I said, it's like walking around in a cloud. We're not functioning as we would normally function. And one of the first things that happens when people are on a healthy, consistent eating plan that not only feeds their brain but their entire body, is that they talk about the clarity that they feel, how much sharper that they are, how much more energy that they have, how much more patient they are, how they handle their children better. I remember one client saying to me before she started, she couldn't even handle the kids, 2 kids, and they were just driving her nuts. And within about 4 weeks of eating properly and feeding her body and feeding her brain, she was saying things like, it's night and day. Like just the response that I have with these kids, the ability to have tolerance and patience with them, and to see things from a different perspective. This is very important, and I think where do you start in life? What do you say is the most important? Do you say it's like, to be confident is most important, or to be valued is most important? They all kind of intertwine to each other. It's like, a recipe that makes bread. They're all very important. But if we're not, first of all, taking care of this aspect alone, how can we then feel, well, I need to be selfish with my time. I need to be positive with my time. I need to be, more encouraging. How do you do these things when your brain's not even functioning properly? So I think, number one, with all people, they need to take a look at this aspect and realize that when we're eating food, it's just not we're not eating food necessarily for the point of, well, this is a great steak and it's nice to be with friends and we're eating, but more importantly that food is more of a natural thing that we need to implement our life to support growth and to support energy and to support vitality within our own life. Eating food is not the recreation or the thing it has become. Okay, that's something different. So people need to eat. They need to understand that in doing so, it's going to actively support and open them up to just a better existence and better awareness of themselves and be more patient, tolerant in all aspects.